You guys know Gus, and you know Gonzo, but this is our newest. This is my grand dog, Jet. Jet's 11 months old, and I told everybody I would introduce him in this new video so the world got to know Jet. Jet's a golden retriever. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm in a very cold Brick, New Jersey, and I'm here to install a new Chargepoint electric vehicle charger on this house. We're going to be putting it right here on the side of the house next to the driveway. The thing we're going to be doing also is we're going to be putting a convenience GFCI receptacle with a bubble cover. The owner asked me to do that in addition to the electric vehicle charger, and that's what we're here to do. So welcome back to the channel. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's a few days away. It's freezing cold here. We got our first snow overnight. It's not a lot, just a dusting. You can barely even call that snow, but the cold front has moved in and it's bitter cold with the wind chill, probably about 10 degrees right now. So I'm freezing. I'm gonna go inside the basement. Let's get started. I was very fortunate to work indoors at the beginning of the day here because it was really cold. Anyway, I'm laying out some 6'2" non-metallic sheath cable. Yes, I understand that 6'2" is rated in the 60-degree column for 55 amps, but there was a ruling here in New Jersey that for these electric vehicles, it shall be permitted to run 6'2" NM here in New Jersey for these 60 amp circuits. I'm also running a 15 amp 120 volt circuit for a new GFCI on the exterior in a bubble cover and a special box that I will show you when we get to that part of the video. Be careful not to damage the non-metallic sheath cable. It's just a plastic sheathing around those conductors. Some people will call it cheap. That's fine. If you want to pay, I can run some armored cable for you. If you want to pay that extra freight for that, there's no reason to do that. So I'm running non-metallic sheath cable, and I thought I would put a spotlight on how to attach the cables to a framing member. So here I am stapling back each of the home runs to the sill plate that's run right above the foundation and before the ceiling joists. When I get over to the panel, I start to drill some holes here because it was just easier for me to run these cables through bored holes rather than trying to attach it to the sill plate. There was a water main and other things and pipes and ducts in the way, and this was the easier route to drill a few holes. Of course, the 6'2" could have been attached directly to the bottom of the joist. I'm aware of that. I like to do things in a nice workmanlike manner where I can, and so I decided to drill out some holes, but I'm having a problem with the battery becoming detached from the drill, and so that's why I'm struggling here to get these holes drilled. Eventually I went out and got a new battery for the drill and continued on. Yeah, you want to make sure you're at least 1.25 inches away from the bottom of that framing member, so should somebody come back and want to finish the ceiling, the sheetrock screws or nails won't injure or damage the cables. This was a 200 amp main breaker panel by GE. GE is not my favorite, but this panel was in really good condition, and if I had to guess, it's probably 20 or 25 years old. I'm not sure when this house was built. I want to say it was the 90s, and so it's probably original with the house, but it was in good condition. Normally when I work inside a house, inside of a panel in the basement, especially down the shore here, there's usually a lot of corrosion and rust built up inside the panel, and sometimes you may or may not have to tell the homeowner that, look, this is not safe, we could do better. This is leaking water, or it's got condensation coming down the service entrance conductors, but this was all in PVC conduit, and it was watertight for sure. I didn't see any damage at all, and I was surprised. So whoever installed this service when the house was built, you did a good job. It's lasted a long time. Nice work. So I'm re-identifying my 6'2" level 2 EV charger circuit because the white wire is not a neutral wire. We're going to re-identify this to a ungrounded conductor, and when you do that, you have to re-identify it for an ungrounded conductor color. And the code specifically says anything but white, green with a yellow stripe, or bare for an ungrounded conductor. This is a pretty neat job, so I'm imagining that, I don't know if this is an update or if this came with the panel, but this panel legend is beautiful. Wait till you see the condition of this. That's really, really nice. Somebody took the time to make that, and so I just added my circuits, the GFCI and the electric vehicle charger, and put it back in its place. Real nice job, whoever put that there. So now that I'm outside, I'm going to drill some pilot holes so I know exactly where my PVC conduit's going to come out and where I'm going to put the GFCI receptacle. Always drill pilot holes before the real holes, and come back and size them correctly. So this is the 15 amp wire that I'm working here. I'm going to pull this through. Same thing, there was a desk or something in the way, so instead of going back into that corner with the sill plate, I drilled some holes and ran my cable through the board holes to the outside. I set up the GFCI first, and then I came back to do the level 2 EV charger. If you like this video, do me a favor, hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more. Here I'm using a weatherproof box by Arlington that's actually designed specifically for this vinyl Dutch lap siding. As you can see, when I go to attach this box, it's upside down, I realize that. When I go to attach it now, you'll see that it conforms right to the Dutch lap siding. That's a nice detail, I think, and I actually had to run to the supply house before they closed today because I didn't have one on my truck to do this, and I think the extra effort was definitely worth it. Looks really nice, and you'll see when I'm done here, I put the white bubble cover on. Really, really nice looking receptacle for the outside. I use 4 2-inch exterior rated core screws to attach this plastic box, PVC box. Right behind where I'm working right here is what's known as the rim joist. So I'm definitely getting structure here, so this box is not going anywhere. The hole to the right is for the 3/4 inch PVC that I'll be running for the EV charger circuit. But for now, the nice thing about working with PVC boxes is they don't conduct electricity. So as far as the grounding goes, you don't have to ground the box or worry about wrapping equipment grounding conductor around a green screw inside of a plastic box. Plastic, no matter how hard you try, will not conduct electricity. So I'm just going to strip back the conductors here, and I'm going to use a weather resistant, tamper resistant GFCI receptacle for this installation. GFCI protection is required at the outdoors. So any type of receptacle on the outside of your house, or dwelling we'll call it, is required to be GFCI, or we could do GFCI protection. So of course we could have put in a GFCI circuit breaker, but we chose to put in the GFCI receptacle because if you have a problem and this thing stops working, the next person might not know that it's got a GFCI circuit breaker or how to reset that circuit breaker, but most people at this point know how to replace and reset a GFCI device. And so this just slides right on, and then the accordion style cover goes over this receptacle. I use the 2 mounting screws to hold the cover to the work. Of course, that's okay to do. And you tell me in the comments if you think this looks like a really, really good installation. So I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to attack this, but the non-metallic sheath cable is not rated for a wet location. And obviously outside the house here is a wet location. So if I were to put the charger right where I'm inserting this PVC conduit, then we're okay, and I don't have to change the weather resistant or weatherproof conductors. But since I'm going up to the 4 feet to the bottom of the charger, there's going to be about 2.5 feet of PVC on the outside. And so I have to change over to conductors that are rated for wet locations. And that's what this junction box in the basement is for. It might not look like it, but there is glue on there. I kind of struggled with this. It's kind of a tight spot for a box. And I probably could have used a 4-inch square box, but as you see when I make the splice here, I'm using these butt splice connectors that they take up a little bit of space inside that box. So I had this 6x6x4 box. So I have a little more cubic volume inside this box for these conductors. This also comes with a ground screw, which I'll attach here momentarily. I'll use the equipment grounding conductor from the 6.2 cable. It's going to be coming into the right side of this box to ground the box. And then I'll join the equipment grounding conductor going out to the charger in here as well. 6.2 cable is, obviously it's a big cable, it's expensive. Sometimes working with it could be a pain in the neck. You probably could have used a 1/2 inch connector here, but I like to use the 3/4. It's just going to be easier that way. The 1/2 inch are kind of a tight fit, so to speak. So here I'm just prepping the box, and then I'll eventually go outside and push the other conductors in before making the connection to these conductors here, which is known as the home run. So these conductors here are rated for indoors, but once the conductors go outdoors, if they leave that box immediately, like you'll see here, I'll put in an LB, they need to be rated for a wet location. And THHN/THWN conductors do that. And so pretty soon here I'll be ready to go outside and start working a little bit more outside. It was still cold at this point as well. So now that I've measured my PVC and I've cut it on the outside, I had the camera down in the basement but when I cut it out here. But I marked it, pulled it back out so I got an exact fit. And so now I'm just going to attach this 3/4 inch PVC LB, and I'm going to use a level here to make sure it's straight going up and down. I'm not exactly sure where the bottom of the EV charger is going to be at the moment, so I'm going to open it up. I'm going to prep the charger, get the male adapter in there, and then work on incorporating a expansion coupling in between the LB and the EV charger, so there's no issues there. And then as you'll see in the video, I actually messed up and didn't put in a offset to go into the bottom of the charger, and I had to take out the conduit and redo it. Not a huge deal, but I wasn't going to leave it the way I first saw it, and you'll see in a moment here what I'm talking about. So over by the truck here, I'm just going to use the template that comes with the Chargepoint and put it on my PVC mounting board and get a rough location for the screws that actually supports the EV charger. I probably could have been a little more productive here doing this work. So here's what I'm talking about. I get the expansion coupling in. I figure I'm going right into the bottom. But what I didn't account for, and I don't know what the heck I was thinking, was the 1/4 inch PVC mounting block and then the probably 3/4 inch offset to the male adapter on the bottom of the EV charger. So once I have the spot here, you're going to see in a moment that the I got to take everything down, take out the PVC heater, and get an offset so it looks professional. But we all make mistakes. I made some here, so what are you going to do? You'll see what I'm talking about here. So this EV charger sits on a screw on the top. So you got to get that in and make sure that that pipe is straight too. And of course, I realize here in a second that this looks like shit and that I should really do this again. Kind of disheartening. I would have been done at like 12:30, but instead it took me a little bit longer. But do it right the first time. So I used the new GFCI circuit and my PVC heater. It held. So this thing is drawing definitely less than 1800 watts. But this PVC heater is 10 years old. Over 10 years old now. It'll be 11 years next year. So probably going to get one new one soon, which would be worth it. So it's a little tricky bending the PVC on the end that's going to go into the male adapter, because if that gets hot, it might not want to sit in that male adapter like it should. So this was tricky not to overheat it, but heat it enough so that I can get some play in it and I can get this offset taken care of. So I've been working with the PVC heater here for 10 years, so I'm gotten pretty good at it. But it has its limitations. It's hard, even though it's rated for 2-inch, bending 2-inch PVC, very difficult to not burn the PVC in this oven here. Maybe it's the oven that's worn out. The reflectors in there for the heat, they've been damaged and they're working, but it's probably the heater, probably not me, it's probably the heater. I hope, at least. So as you can see here, I'm going to struggle a little bit with the charger moving around on me. but the male adapter's in there, and I only got to get like maybe an inch or an inch and a quarter offset here. Almost lost it there, but thankfully I held on to it. So we get that in there. We just want to make sure that the bend is good. It's cold enough. Now I'm going to get some PVC glue and glue it in position. Just hold it there until the glue adheres to the adapter so it doesn't fall out. It fell out once or twice here doing this that I've edited out. But just so you know, I'm not perfect. Although this installation did come out really, really nice, I thought. And regardless of what you think about electric vehicles, I really don't care. For us electricians, I've been doing this all year, as you've seen. Service upgrades and EV chargers, and I get calls for this every week. And I think I got a Tesla hopefully coming up pretty soon in Westfield. And then another call came in from a YouTube subscriber, I think, in Oceanport. And I'm looking to touch base with that person. I called him today. But anyway, so that's pretty much how it's going to look now. It's got the expansion coupling, and the most important part here, if you go through all that, you got to get a strap, right? So if this conduit's really short and you got the expansion coupling in there and there's no place to put a strap, you'll get away with it. And inspectors are going to give you a hard time, as you're going to see. But if you have some PVC where you could put a strap and you didn't, then you'll fail for that. So you better get that in there and make it work. And doing that offset definitely made the difference here on this EV charger. Hey, if you like this video, do me a favor, smash that like button and hit subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I do videos often, probably not often enough. I'd like to make some more, but between family life, professional life, IEC life, instructor life, it takes a lot of time to make these videos, but I do try to make the best ones possible. And I thought you would like this electric vehicle circuit work that I did here. Actually, on Saturday, December 21st, I'm probably going to upload this this evening on Saturday. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video. Want to say hello to all my subscribers. A Merry Christmas to you all, and we'll see you on the next video. I am not sponsored by Chargepoint, but I do have to say that these are my favorite electric vehicle chargers to install. They're very easy to install and very reliable, and now only thing that's left to do is have the homeowner pair the charger to the app, and then they'll be ready to charge at the full 48 amps. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.